Hello and welcome to DCP SideQuest episode number 9.
That is very reminiscent of Into the Spider-Verse, and there was a lot of the thing that I really liked about it. Again, no spoilers. This isn't giving any spoilers, but there was just a good amount of progression. You know, in a lot of superhero movies, it's like fight bad guy, maybe a tiny thing happens, and you're like on to the next. This was like things progressed very nicely.
Nice.
Great.
Cool.
I love that.
That's great. I'm excited to see that.
Yeah, I look forward to that one. I always bring the kids to see all the Marvel movies, so we'll go see it together. I can't wait.
Nice. Really Briar, did you blow anything up for the 4th of July?
We did a little fireworks here at the homestead.
Of course you did.
Any dynamite?
No dynamite, just like that store-bought stuff.
Just cutting back?
Sparkles
I just realized Briar is the prospector from Toy Story.
Oh, that's amazing. Wow.
But we did a picnic at my mother's house. We did another picnic at a friend's house. It was just a fun weekend. You know, it's one of those weekends where you spend a lot of time, you know, just drinking beers outside, shooting the shit with your friends and family.
Yeah.
I love it.
That sounds fantastic.
Nice.
Yes. Well, what is the first topic for SideQuest today? What do we got?
Ooh.
Are we going weeby first?
Let's do it. Let's go
Weeby.
weeby.
Let's do it. Let's go full weeb.
Full weeb.
So this past weekend was not only Guardian Con and 4th of July and all of that, it was Anime Expo. So with Anime Expo, you will tend to get some releases game-wise if it's relating to anime. So the first thing that came out that if I couldn't get any more excited about this game, Code Vein released an opening animation. So it's completely like hand animated, like anime animated. And it's by UFO Table, which is the anime studio that did all of the Fate series. They did God Eater, and the most recent thing that's airing if you've seen anything about it, Demon Slayer the animation is absolutely phenomenal. So as soon as I saw that was a thing, I was so excited. I was in Discord with a bunch of friends playing games, and I was just like, guys, but you don't understand. This is by UFO Table. And it's about 4 minutes. The music is so good, and the animation is so good, and it's just... They also released what the collector's edition looks like.
Oh, that looks so good. So good.
What's in the collector's edition?
There's a statue of one of the main characters, and she has like the pincers coming out because there's an attack where you can parry, or when you basically drain energy from your opponent, you have like these pincers come out. So she has this wonderful, amazing looking statue with that kind of pose going on, and I think I need it.
That's cool.
They've been dropping
Do you guys buy a lot of collector's editions?
I used to buy like a load of them religiously. Then I had to start coming back because I was like, I'm just running out of space. So typically for me now, I'll reserve it for like my absolute favorite series. So for example, Zelda Link's Awakening. I mean, that one's not a massive one, but I snagged that one anyway. Astral Chain, I'm super excited for, and that even though it's never existed, it kind of falls within the like I'm too hyped for this, so I kind of need it. But then they've started doing. There's been like so many good ones recently because there's those like what's it called? Ex Machina coming on the Switch, and it's like a mech game. And it's got a mech statue in it. And I was like, I mean, I'm going to get the game. Do I need the collector? So I'm hovering like, should I do it? So I do get kind of like suckered in some of the time, but I'm just like, half the time I get it. And I think to myself, I really shouldn't buy this because then I get it out, I take the photo of it. And then I'm like, well, eventually when I get like a big enough space to display it, I'll put it on display. So it goes back in the box. And then I've just got boxes of like, eventually these will go on a shelf.
I've started using a program of if I can't fit it in this area, I don't think I can buy it.
Interesting.
That's what I did when I went to Japan as well, because I was like, I really like that.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't think I can put it. And there's nowhere else I can put it. If I put it in the bedroom, I'm only going to see it right before I go to bed. That's not enough for me. I need to see it all day.
I remember my first ever Japan trip. It was literally like you walk into anywhere in Akiba, and I was like, "Yep, I need that. I've seen that series really once. I'll grab that." I was like, "Oh."
There was one floor that was like the character floor.
Oh yes.
Every single thing that they had on that floor I had seen, and I really liked that anime. So I was just walking around like, Tomo, you got to get me out of here. We got to go. This is bad. We got to leave.
Dangerous place.
Yeah.
It's like when you go to the dedicated like Gundam area as well, because like I haven't watched like a ton of Gundam series, but I love I like mechs anyway. Like when you walk into the area and you're like, that's just a cool looking robot. And then you start in your head, you're like, well, my suitcase is about this big. That box is like, Then you get home, you're like, I've completely misunderstood how small. Crap.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I've bought a lot of them over the years. I've kind of slowed down on buying them for the same reason. There's just not room to put them, and you know. But there's a few that I really still enjoy. I bought was it Halo 3 that came with the cat helmet? Like it's like a pretty large, large Spartan helmet. It's not big enough to fit on your head. That's why they call it the cat helmet, because it's about the size to fit on a cat.
Amazing.
But that one's pretty good. I don't have that displayed anywhere right now. It's in a box somewhere. The BioShock 1 collector's edition came with a Big Daddy, like a little statuette of Big Daddy.
Nice.
I think that's in the same box with the Halo helmet. And I still have the Ghost from Destiny.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I wish I had that.
We actually have a display case for Destiny stuff. We have the vertical display right next to our TV in the living room that's got like the actual like this big of the statues from Titan, Hunter, Warlock, and then we have like the mini statues as well. So yeah, we actually have a display case for Destiny stuff, but now it's full, so they can't bring out anything else.
So I'm kind of the opposite for you guys. I've like only essentially, I think I've bought 2 collector's editions, and one of them was Destiny 2.
Okay.
And I usually
Destiny 2.
Yeah, I bought the Destiny 2 collector's edition. I wanted that Ghost from Destiny 1, but I wasn't sure how into the game I was going to be.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
You wanted that bag.
Well, I was like, I'm not going to miss out on another collector's edition. So I was like, I'm going to buy it. And the Destiny 2 collector's edition turned out to be meh.
Pretty meh.
Yeah. But I was like, okay, this time I'm going to get it. I just haven't really bought collector's editions because I'm almost always buying them digitally, and then it's just more stuff that I have to deal with. You know,
you saw the statue from Code Vein, you'd buy it.
Yeah,
it's really.
I think statues are what
the Bloodborne statue looks amazing. I kind of wish I had that, but
I know.
Yeah.
But I didn't.
Yeah, I think statues are like the normal, the kind of the thing that pushes me over the edge. Like if it's like just an art book, like I love art, but invariably I'll be like, I'm just going to look through the pages and then it's going to go on the shelf. So if it's just like an art book and like some stickers, I'll be like, I don't need that. But if there's something like really different and stuff,
tangible objects.
If there's a statue, I'm like,
I'm not allowed to put the stuff in any other room besides where I'm at right now.
Oh no.
So there's very limited space in here. In fact, we've got the artist who makes all the DCP artwork puts posters together for Guardian Con. And I got both of those framed. She made 2 posters, and I got both of them framed. And it was a battle. I wanted to put that in the living room because I was super proud of that poster. Like, it's a really cool poster, and it's framed. It looks really nice. But like, I won that battle, but I lost some skin. Like, I lost some skin getting that thing hung in the living room.
Oh, that's funny.
Amazing.
Besides the Code Vein animated opening,
Code Vein.
There was. Well, you just, unless we're gonna play the thing, that's all I can really say about it. It's amazing, and you should watch it because the animation is cool and the music is really, really, really good.
Nice.
You should check it out. But there was also, we got to find out about a Kill la Kill game.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, Eric, I know you have some experience with this.
Yeah. So there is a very weird way to play the game right now, right? And this is the one gripe. So there's a demo right now. Now, invariably, the purpose of the demo is to like try the game before you buy it. But in order to get said demo, you must purchase the game, and then you get a free demo. But this only also applies if you buy it from the US PlayStation Store. So I woke up in the morning, I was like, I'm super excited. You know, being me, I decided not to read anything. I was like, I'm just gonna go and buy it. Pre-ordered at the European store. Was like, where's my demo? Checked my library. It's like, logged into my American account. Then it says, comes with a demo. I'm like, I've been bamboozled here.
Bamboozled.
I had to buy the game the second time, and I'm going to buy it a third time because I want it on Switch in the first place. So I literally bought it. So I was like, what are you doing? But you do get the demo, and despite the fact that it's a weird way to acquire it, you can play the game, and it has 3 modes you can mess around in there. So just kind of broadly speaking, Kill la Kill being like a trigger anime, really, really cool. If ever you've like, people in chat might have like heard of trigger animes being like Gurren Lagann, Kill la Kill. Recently they've released Promare, the kind of other mech one. They've done other stuff as well. But basically, they're a really good studio, and they have a fighting game coming out. Now, it's not kind of where I would place this. I refer to this probably more so like a brawler. It's more like one of the typical anime fighters. So it's not super Street Fighter. Guilty Gear, BlazBlue in depth, where you're going to be doing hefty, crazy combos. It's more like Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm, Dragon Ball Z Budokai. So it's more kind of lighthearted fun. You just jump in, mess around. It's not too combo heavy. You can generally speaking do everything you want. So it's more for like people that are anime fans first, fighting games second, fighting fans second. But there's a story mode that you can mess around with in the demo where I think my understanding is it has an original story. So it's kind of, I don't know where exactly it takes place because obviously it only started with like the intro stuff, but apparently it's got like original aspects to it. So if you like the anime, there might be that for it. I will say that the demo has like a 20-minute anime cutscene before you can even play the game during the story. I was sat there like, oh yeah, let me just quickly record this video before I go out. I was like,
that's some Kingdom Hearts stuff right there.
Yeah.
God damn.
I mean, give me an anime episode that I can't skip. So I went through that, but then they got a versus mode, so you can mess around with the 4 characters, and they've also got this covers mode, so you can fight like 100 of these enemies in like the quickest time possible. But it's, I mean, for people that enjoy fighting games slightly more casually, just like kind of over the top stuff, there's a lot of really cool moves. Obviously, you've got your favorite characters, and you have typical flows, like light and heavy attacks. You've got like some dash attacks, and then once you build your meter, you've got the over the top anime specials that feature some of the scenes from like the recognizable moves from the anime. So yeah, I had a lot of fun with it. It's definitely one of those games that I'm gonna play for sure, but it's not. I've got a lot of like friends that are into fighting games, but it's not the sort of game that I would see us playing for like months and months on end. It's typically one of those ones that I'll pick it up. We'll probably play it for a couple of weeks just because it's fun to mess around with, and then it will probably go back on the shelf.
Cool.
So that might kind of better inform people if they're like, oh, should I get this? It's like, I don't really necessarily think it will have a huge amount of legs, but it's still fun. So
if you're a fan of the series, you will enjoy the game because you get to play with the characters and use the moves that you've seen in the show. So
yeah,
that's always
the same thing. Exactly right. Same kind of like prospect I said when I spoke about like the My Hero game. I was like, it's not an amazing fighting game, but as a My Hero fan, I'm going to buy it regardless. So that's generally speaking where I fall on these anime. I mean, sometimes some of them are great. Some of the Naruto like Ninja Storm games have been amazing anyway. Plus, they've obviously got that over the top aspect. But generally speaking, that's where it falls. I will say though, this one for anyone that kind of watching gameplay definitely feels a lot better than something like the My Hero game. The My Hero game was quite floaty. This one's got some weight to it. So I hate it when you're like too floaty in fighting games. It kind of just ends up like throwing you off a little bit. So there's some decent weight to it. And while there's not a great deal of complexity, there's at least like I'd say it's definitely on the better side of the anime fighters than the like.
Nice. That's cool.
So yeah.
So you say it's probably going to be like a weekend type of game if you're a fan of the series?
Yeah. I reckon so.
It is, guys. Early.
18
minutes into the stream.
Wow, it's usually at the end.
Yeah, you never know. When you're playing Eric's Bingo, you never know.
We need to create some. Can we get Ash to create some bingo cards that people can just like download, print off, and just?
Oh, we should totally do that. That's hilarious.
Play Eric's Bingo.
SideQuest Bingo.
It's a game within a game within a show.
Yeah, that sounds great. Well, we were mostly done with the kill talk.
Eric's might be permanently frozen, guys.
This is a long one.
Can we get a spirit bomb to help raise?
You've just gotten too deep into Iceborne. Look what happened.
Yep. Froze up.
They have been posting a lot of videos about all the armor. They got the Game Informer. Game Informer has Monster Hunter World as their big like month of coverage.
Oh, that's awesome.
Which is what they've done for Destiny in the past.
Yep.
So it's like every day something's coming out. Look at this area. Look at this armor. Look at this monster. Look at this thing, and it's pretty great. The armor looks.
That's great. Yeah, I've seen some of the stuff on Twitter. It's got me excited. I'm excited to jump back into that and kill some monsters.
As soon as the first time you jump in, Tefty, you're just gonna be like, "Yep, I'm excited.
Yeah.
This is great." I know when you leave games, it's kind of hard to get the excitement to go back in, but once you're in there, it's just like, okay, yep, back in the swing.
Yeah,
I think Monster Hunter does a really good job of making you excited.
I'm trying to decide which weapon I'm going to use to jump back in. Like, am I going to do Greatsword? Am I going to welcome back, Eric?
I'm back.
Welcome back.
Sorry, I apologize. That was not the usual like weird disconnect. That was a full-on my internet went down. I apologize for that.
Oh, all good.
Oh,
no worries, man.
Yeah, no worries.
We're talking about Game Informer having featured stuff for Iceborne all month.
Oh
Yeah. Very exciting stuff. I was saying like I don't know which weapon I'm going to focus on because like when I first played Monster Hunter World, I ended up going for the Greatsword most of the time, and that was great because like getting those big hits and timing them You know, it's very punishing.
Yeah.
But when you like land that triple combo, it's like, yes.
It's like when I do the clutch claw over and over again, and I might die, but if it works, it's
If
always
it lands, that's
Definitely.
you're winning, right? It's like it's great.
great. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm probably gonna go with Greatsword again, honestly.
Greatsword is good. There's a funny like comedy video that someone did on like describing like the weapons in like a really comedic way, and then the description of Greatsword is like, I spend 90% of the time trying to hit the monster just so I can eventually land my really powerful attack. But it was just so true. Like I need to link you that video afterwards because there's so many funny comments about that one.
Love it. Yeah. Awesome. What's next?
If I jump back into that, and that's not a guarantee because there's so much coming out in September that I'm not sure. Like Monster Hunter is like the game that's on the cusp for me.
You can play it for a week though.
But if I do jump in, it's going to be all hammer all the time. I just love using that hammer.
The dental plan. The dental plan is so good. I have a loadout called the dental plan, and every time,
really,
it's great. Yeah, I just give you fix them teeth.
So good.
Yeah, that's it's gonna be tough. Well, there's so many good options in Monster Hunter for weapons.
Yeah.
Well, that's the
And then
beauty
when
of
you
Monster
think
Hunter.
you found your spot, you go and try something else just to try it, and then you're like, oh,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like you
that's one
can
of the
fight the
things-
same fight with 3 different weapons, and it feels like almost a completely different game.
exactly.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, what I used to do in like previous Monster Hunter games, I would just like I typically fixate on like a weapon for quite a while to get to the campaign, and then you get to like a slow period, and you're like, you know what, I feel like trying something different, and it just does feel like a new game again, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, let's go again.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah.
What else we got?
Can I nerd out for a while?
Let's do it, man.
Yes, you can.
All right. So this week, if you're looking to buy a PC or build a PC, this was a pretty big week as far
Juicy.
as hardware goes. We got NVIDIA and AMD both revealed their new graphics cards, and AMD also revealed their new line of CPUs. This is the 3rd generation of Ryzen, confusingly called Zen 2.
What? Really?
Of course.
Yes.
Why would they do that? Unbelievable.
The first generation of Ryzen was Zen 1. The second one was Zen Plus.
Oh boy.
And this is Zen 3.
Fair enough.
Interesting.
Oh boy.
Anyhow, so this next generation of processors, we'll go over the processors first, really takes aim at Intel in a bunch of different ways. The value proposition of the AMD Ryzen processors is, since their release a couple of years ago, has always been, well, we'll offer you more cores at a much lower price than what Intel can do. But what we can't match Intel at is the high speed of the Intel processors, the actual like 5 gigahertz. We can't hit 5 gigahertz on AMD. They still can't, but they've come much closer. So if you're building a PC for gaming, AMD has really become a much stronger choice. Not only that, but they're so much more robust than what Intel is offering at the same price point. If you do anything besides gaming, let's say you're a content creator and want to stream with a PC or create, videos with a PC, they are much more powerful for that at the same price point than what Intel is offering. So you might take a 5% hit in frame rate, but what you get out of it is much better content creation ability, much better streaming ability, just a more powerful computer in general, which is really interesting. And Intel doesn't have anything on the horizon that even can compete with this, so it's really concerning for Intel.
So what's the price difference right there? Like, let's say
the price difference. So, like, if you were to look at, let's say a 9900K, which I believe is about $499.
Okay.
If you want the absolute fastest gaming computer, the only thing you're going to use this for is gaming right now, right? That's the processor you go with. That's about $490. It's 8-core, 16-thread Intel processor. For the same price, at $499, AMD is offering 12 cores and 24 threads.
Interesting.
Just like a minor difference in top single core speed.
Really?
Right? They've gotten much better as far as what their boost frequency is and the instructions per clock, to the point where in some games there's no difference. If you're playing at 1080p, there's going to be more differences. If you're playing at 1440p, there's going to be less differences. And obviously, if you're playing at 4K, then you're really relying on your graphics card more than your processor anyway. Yeah. So they're really compelling and they're really priced well. You know, like you're getting 4 more cores out of AMD than you're getting out of Intel for the same price. And they're also going they're kind of going into the high-end desktop range with these new processors. For $750, you can get a 16-core, 32-thread processor that runs pretty damn quick at 4.7 gigahertz, which is really fast.
Yeah, that's really fast.
And you can put that on a motherboard, you know, that's like, you know, anywhere from $100 to $200. You know, and your layout, compared to going like with high-end desktop parts from Intel, you're going to be saving thousands of dollars.
Yeah. What does that chip run from AMD?
$749.
Okay.
That's the 3950X.
Okay. So that's their big boy chip right there.
That's their big boy chip. And that's really, I mean, I have a Threadripper now that has 16 cores and 32 threads. And that, I mean, it's a workhorse. My Threadripper doesn't run at nearly this frequency though.
Right.
So like it's quite an impressive chip.
So
you know,
just to talk about the Ryzen 3000 real quick. This came out yesterday, right? So people have been building their computers, and there's been reports have been piling up that Destiny 2 just doesn't run on Ryzen 3000 computers.
That's a problem.
So it started with one person. It started with one person. We don't know. So far, every other game seems fine, but of course, it's only been, you know, people probably put this together last night, maybe this morning. So maybe it's going to be other games. So Bungie is currently investigating why that is the case, why it's not launching. But yeah, there's currently a Reddit thread that's piling up of people being like, "Yep, doesn't work. Yep, kick for."
I would expect that to be resolved pretty quickly.
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah,
if it runs on the 2700, it'll run on the 3700. I would imagine pretty quickly.
Yeah. I would expect them to be able to find a fix somewhat quickly. So I wouldn't be too concerned unless it starts coming up that it doesn't work with a ton of games that you play, and then maybe you're like, "Oh, I'm gonna have to wait for all these companies to bring out a patch."
Yeah, is it
whenever you're first to buy, whenever you're like on the cusp of this kind of stuff, you're always dealing with this stuff because you've got new motherboard drivers, you've got new micro architecture, you've got all sorts of brand new stuff. You wait a couple of months, 3 months, a lot of this stuff is going to be figured out. I remember when I built my first AMD system, it was just like I couldn't overclock it right. It would forget the settings, and like you just got to wait for BIOSes to catch up. And,
that stuff is really common in the PC world. Like even with new graphics cards, you get a brand new graphics card, suddenly the performance is like on par or less than your previous card because they screwed up some sort of driver thing that they have to patch up real quick.
Right.
Then it's patched.
It's always real spooky to get something when it just comes out and you're like, is my whole computer going to explode? Maybe.
Yeah.
Possibly.
Yeah, just straight up like adopting brand new technology like that.
Yeah.
You want to wait. Yeah. If you're concerned about it.
Especially if you rely on it for production.
Yeah,
exactly, right. It's like operating systems, right? You don't record, like you don't get the latest version of Windows. You're like, no, I'll wait a good 2 years.
Oh yeah,
totally. Then
my Mac that I do all my video production work on, I don't update anything on that unless there is a feature that I want so badly that I'm willing to take the risk that this is going to go down and I'm not going to be able to use it for a while. You know,
it's like when you get the pop-up.
I don't update anything.
Yeah, it's like when you get the pop-up from NVIDIA and they're just like, "Hey, we got a new graphics driver for you." I'm just like, "Let me just press install and look away." I'm like, "Come on!"
What games does it work for? That's what I look for. What games does it work for? What is this actually doing? Do I need it?
Yeah, definitely.
A lot of times those are optimizations for new games that I'm not even playing. You know, this weekend I spent the whole day playing Shadow of the Tomb Raider, which came out I think in October, and like at the beginning of the launch for that game, it was a mess. And, you know, it was advertised to have, ray tracing, but didn't get it until I think like April or something. So you wait a good year and everything works out pretty well. I mean, that game is fantastic now.
Yeah, for sure. This Ryzen stuff is
the other things.
I just want to say it's definitely interesting stuff because I'm currently rocking a 6800K i7 for my streaming rig, not my gaming rig.
Yeah.
And that's like almost 3 years old at this point. And I figure at that point, it's good to look at the options and the Ryzen stuff strictly for streaming and video compression and all that. It looks fantastic.
Yeah. What are the problems? I have the Threadripper, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things is the core speed of Threadripper isn't as fast as you would get like from equivalent Intel. So it really depends on like the actual application. For, you know, things that really rely on single threaded workloads, like Adobe Photoshop is big on this. Threadripper is kind of slow. But for things that can utilize, you know, multiple cores like Handbrake, it rips.
Yeah.
You know, it just like blows through things. You know, I use Handbrake a ton, and you know, it's nice to see that bar just go whoop.
Right?
Yeah.
Instead of coffee break, you can just start working right away.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's good to hear about content creation, because I remember like everyone was talking about I think was it the previous generation being like really good for video editing and stuff, but obviously they were still kind of hesitant to adopt it for gaming. But like knowing that it's good across the board now, that might actually make it a more enticing pickup.
You know, I think it's going to be a really attractive option to people who want to stream and game on the same PC, because you can get something like the Ryzen 3900 for $500, and you know you're getting competitive frame rates, but you've got a ton of cores to just devote to OBS for streaming. So you can not only play with good graphics and, you know, high frame rates, but you can also send those to your viewer without dropping frames to Twitch, which, you know, that's huge, right? It's like you want your experience as a game player to be good, but you also want the viewing experience to be good. A 12-core, 24-thread processor for $500 is pretty damn attractive.
It is.
Comparing that to what Intel's offering.
Yeah.
It's really good.
What does Intel cost if you jump up cores?
If you jump up cores, it gets exponentially more expensive. After you do the i9 9900K, you're into their high-end desktop range, which means higher-end motherboards and way more expensive processors.
Right. So thousands in the processor, and also the motherboard is easily going to run you at $500, $600, $700, maybe more.
It could. I'm sure you can cheap out, but
yeah, you don't really want to when you buy a processor
like
that.
Put $1,000 processor on a $200 motherboard, and
you're asking for trouble there.
If we don't figure that out.
So AMD and NVIDIA both released graphics cards, and the big story here is that they are priced identically and they perform nearly identically. NVIDIA has their new Super Series cards. They have the RTX 2060 Super, which I think goes for $350, and the 2070 Super, which I think goes for $500.
No 2080?
Now, these are out of stock everywhere, and these are the Founders Editions, so they're coming right from NVIDIA, which means that you're not going to get them at that price. Right?
They not make a 2080?
They didn't make a 2080 Super yet.
Really? Okay.
Unless they did. Did they announce it? Yes, they did. They came out with a 2080 Super as well.
I was about to say, I was like, that's weird.
Yep.
So 2060, 2070, and a 2080, all Super Edition.
What's the difference between like a 2060 that you if you currently have a RTX 2060? What's the Super going to give you?
The Super is basically just a faster version, right? It's like the old TI models.
Yeah.
They're just calling them Super this time around, which is really confusing for the 2080 because there's a 2080, a 2080 Super, and a 2080 Ti.
Yes. Yeah. I could no longer just say I have a 2080. They're like, which one? Which
I think the real news. The real news, though, is that these are much better priced than they were.
Okay.
AMD kind of releasing their new series of graphics cards, I think, has forced NVIDIA to kind of price their cards more reasonable. When the RTX series first launched, the prices were stratospheric. Like, they were just insane. So now the 2060 being $350, the 2070 Super being, $500. Like, these are good graphics cards at much lower prices than what they initially launched at. So I think that's the big news from NVIDIA.
So the Super 2070, what is that comparable to? Is there benchmarks?
It's like a 2080.
Like a 2080. Okay.
So one level up. You're leveling
Right.
up a level.
Okay.
Yeah.
Basically, that's what happened. Is everybody got a little bit more powerful, but also a little cheaper, which is that's what you want, right?
Yeah,
like that's
for sure.
perfect.
Yeah.
I'll be interested. I haven't seen a single review of the 2080 Super yet. I'm hoping because that thing's only $700 on
Really?
on
That's
NVIDIA's website. But I'll be like, it'd be nice if that thing rivals the 2080 Ti, which was like $1,300.
Mhm.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
still over 1,000 right now.
Yeah, I mean that thing is super expensive, and it's a year old.
Yeah.
So I'm, like even being somebody who has a 20 Ti already bought and paid for, like I'd love the 2080 Super to be as powerful, or, imagine if it was more powerful. That'd be amazing.
Yeah,
That would be
yeah.
insane.
So NVIDIA essentially heard the rumblings that AMD is
From
releasing
AMD.
something of a certain power and decided to just essentially like stop sandbagging a little bit to get to that level for cheaper or the same price.
That's what the competition gives you. I mean,
Yeah.
they had the market to themselves. The AMD had nothing to compete with NVIDIA with, right? It's
Mhm.
like there's no product from any other company. So AMD or NVIDIA was able to just say, all right, we're going to charge whatever the fuck we want for these things.
Which
They're
they
the
did.
best graphics cards. If you want the best graphics cards, you're going to pay
You gotta
what
pay for 'em.
we charge
Yeah,
for
yeah.
them. So AMD came out with the 5700 and the 5700X for $350 and $400. I think it was $350 and $400. I'm sorry, the RX 5700 and the 5700 XT. Sorry, I think they're $350 and $400. The XT is just a slightly faster version. Really, these cards are going to pretty much compete with the 2060 Super and the 2070 Super
Okay.
for a little bit less money. But you don't get the features like, ray tracing or, DLSS, which is their super sampling technique, which like basically kind of, it doesn't work the same way, but it has the same effect as like the cross hatch rendering that the consoles are using, where
Okay.
they kind of render two images at a lower resolution then put them together.
Mhm.
And ray
which
tracing
makes-
is really good. I
Ray
don't know if
tracing
you
looks
guys have
fantastic,
seen Quake.
Yeah.
So they took Quake and they ray traced Quake.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh, really?
it looks like a brand new game. It looks phenomenal with the ray tracing done to it. So, I know not a ton of games are adopting ray tracing yet, but when they
next
do,
year there's going to be a lot, like Cyberpunk. A lot of the big
Exactly.
releases next year are going to have
it's gonna look
ray tracing.
so good. Like ray
Yeah.
tracing, genuinely, even from developers were super excited about ray tracing. So it's really cool technology.
Yeah.
Yeah, my guess is that we know that the consoles are going to have ray tracing, right? It's both consoles have come out and said they're going to have ray tracing built in. And we know that also both consoles are going to be using the Navi graphics architecture that is in these current AMD releases,
Right.
but neither of these current cards, the 5700 or the 5700 XT, have ray tracing in them, or don't have it in their hardware, right? So if you wanted it, you have to use software. My suspicion is that we're going to see another refresh on these cards next year.
Yeah. I'm expecting
Yeah.
that.
Because
Super Alpha TI remix.
Alpha TI remix.
Yeah.
well, from Radeon, I would suspect from NVIDIA too, but from AMD, the fact that these don't have ray tracing in them is very suspicious, considering that we know that they're working on it in this architecture for the consoles.
Yeah, true.
I mean, that's a clickbait title right there. Consoles officially better than PCs.
That is clickbait.
Dun, dun, dun. Oh, man.
Also, these Navi graphics cards, it's the first time that AMD has released these Navi graphics cards. It's the first time we've gotten to see the performance, and it gives us a hint at how powerful the next generation of consoles could be.
Mhm. Yeah, that's true.
Because this is essentially, the hardware architecture that's going to be in there.
Yeah.
Will it be this fast? I hope so. I hope that we're getting like 2070 like performance out of the consoles.
Yep.
Especially if we're going to be using them
That
for
would
6 to
be
10 years,
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like the amount of time that's going to be put into those hardwares, it really needs to be up to today's standards.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it holds back
right.
the gaming industry. Yeah, because they can't develop stuff for that type of hardware if it doesn't exist in those consoles. So everything gets better.
There are some very early reports out of these Radeon graphics cards too, the AMD ones, that they are really good for production work.
Oh.
Like their compute performance is actually like way higher than their gaming performance.
Interesting.
Which most people who review graphics cards only talk about the gaming performance, but you do use graphics cards a lot for rendering,
You do.
3D software, or even for rendering video.
For streaming, right? And use your
for streaming. Yeah, you can use it for streaming too. So it's really interesting. I'm waiting to see what actually comes of that. Are these erroneous reports, or could these be like your best option if you're building like a standalone streaming PC or a video editing PC or a 3D rendering PC? Is to you could conceivably go all AMD for like really affordable money. Get $100 motherboard with a $500
CPU
chip on it. CPU, thank you.
You could just do the $330 one, which is 8 cores, 16. It's basically like the 9900K, but for
and get a $350 graphics card. I mean, that's a really affordable machine that is really powerful.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to seeing like the long-term testing on these Radeon graphics cards.
Yeah, what's the name of the card that's like their flagship one from AMD?
The Radeon 7, which is do not buy.
Sorry, I mean in this generation that they just announced. What's the best one that they
the 5700 XT and the 5700.
Okay, so the XT, got it. And that's
XT is $400.
Wow. I mean
it's still really reasonable.
That's really reasonable for PC gaming. And like that's essentially 1080 Ti level, right? Or close to it?
No, it's more like a 1080 probably.
Okay. So if you're doing 1080p gaming for high frames, that's going to do really well.
Yeah, but I mean, for me, I'd rather go with the NVIDIA offering. If I'm just using this thing for gaming, I'd rather go for the NVIDIA offering and get some future forward features like ray tracing and DLSS.
Yeah.
Like to me, that makes more sense.
But let's say you're on a
I'd
budget.
be more attracted to a Radeon if I'm really looking for just building a production PC.
Sure. What if you're on a tight budget, but you'd like to get into PC gaming? What would you recommend right now, based on what they announced?
I'd go with the NVIDIA offering.
Yeah,
I'd go with the 2060 Super. It's going to be $400 or $350 or $400.
Really not bad.
And you get ray tracing. You get DLSS. DLSS is, I use DLSS when I'm playing Tomb Raider in 4K because it looks fantastic and it runs super smooth.
I used ray tracing.
That's a really nice
for
feature.
Metro Exodus, and it just looks beautiful. And I have a 2060 that I stream on. I've also played games on it, and it does really well. It does everything that you could want it to do. So having the 2060 Super or the 2070 Super, you're gonna be a-okay.
I'm not saying that the Radeon offering is worse. I'm just saying like I'd rather just get those extra features if I'm gonna spend the equivalent amount of money.
Yeah, for sure. Which
especially next year when I'm playing Cyberpunk and I want to see what the ray tracing is all about. You might turn it off because take
the frames.
It takes the frames, but if you turn on ray tracing and DLSS, like it ends up being pretty playable.
Yeah.
Especially if you're playing a game that 60 FPS is just fine at, like Tomb Raider, like Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Like I don't need 150 frames per second on Shadow of the Tomb Raider because I'm sitting 6 feet away from my TV with my feet on the coffee table and a controller in my hand.
Yeah, exactly.
Or I'm playing it on my iPad.
Streaming on your network.
Briar has cracked the system and is now playing games on his iPad.
That's true. I played like 6 hours of Shadow on my iPad.
That's why you need that bed stand arm to be able to put in front of you while you're in bed.
Yeah. So it is a super fascinating time. Intel generally comes out with their new CPUs closer to the fall. But we've known for years now that they're really having trouble getting past this, the architecture that they're on. And they're trying to get down to this 10 nanometer process, but they just keep running into problems. And they've promised it's coming this year, but they've been really quiet about it. So is it actually happening? And if it happens, are they going to be able to hit the, those super high frame rates that they're they're hitting with this process node that's been worked on for, frankly, like 10 years.
See, that's always the biggest concern, is that if they're going to jump some sort of generation like that, where it's a new architecture, new everything on there, like there's BIOS level issues that arise with the operating system talking to each other, because those things have changed, or they have some sort of hiccup that happens that looks like it's going to be faster, but ends up causing problems on the operating system level. So you usually have like a year or two before all those are fleshed out in the real world, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like if you're building a new PC right now, it just got cheaper and more powerful.
Yeah.
That's what happened, you know, and that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I just wish NVIDIA wouldn't sandbag as much. It's a little annoying.
Well, I wish that AMD could compete at the high end, especially. Like there's still nothing competing with the 2080 Ti. Like it's just
maybe that's what it is. If AMD could finally challenge NVIDIA, then they would be like, okay, let's release our next stuff even better and make it even more attractive.
Yeah, the concerning thing, even with this new architecture, with this Navi architecture that they're using for the 5700, it's still drawing more power than, you know, what NVIDIA is doing, and they've shrunk their process down to, I think, 7 nanometers, and NVIDIA is still on the old architecture that's like 12 nanometers. So they haven't. NVIDIA is still like a generation behind in that way. And even with the new process, AMD's having trouble just keeping up.
Interesting.
So, you know, it'd be interesting when NVIDIA comes out for their next generation of cards.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Theoretically, they'll shrink down to 7 nanometers and have a more efficient, you know, it'll be more efficient, faster, cooler, and take less power.
Yeah. It's exciting. It's good for us. Good for gamers.
It is good for us.
It's very good.
Yeah. What else? What else we got?
Pokemon.
Pokemon.
Yeah.
There was a new trailer.
Oh, yes.
Which is very interesting.
Yeah. It threw me off at first because I watched it off the back of the stream, so I wasn't like fully focusing. I was like, wait, did they rename Dynamax? But no, they didn't. There's a new system now. So for anyone that hasn't seen the previous trailer, Pokemon Sword and Shield has a new system called Dynamax, where you can basically make your Pokemon massive during a battle. It's kind of like
Jumbo.
this version's kind of like Mega Evolutions to a degree. Although Dynamaxing just scales them up, and they have like they're more powerful. You can do it for 3 turns. But they then spoke today about Gigantamax, which is when you take your Dynamax.
Sounds like an
Pokemon,
RTX Super.
Exactly. And this one doesn't just make it bigger, but it actually changes the form of the Pokemon, and they get special G moves, which is like the Gigantamax moves. This one, much like with the previous Mega Evolutions, isn't available to every Pokemon. So every Pokemon can Dynamax, but not every Pokemon can Gigamax. No, Gigantamax.
Gigantamax.
That's it, yeah.
Gigamax the Sandix. I like it.
But they showed off a few in the trailer today. And there's like the Corviknight, the crow bird basically gets like, it spreads its wings out and creates these like little metal flying birds around it.
Wow.
There's a new cake Pokemon yeah, and then when it Gigantamaxes, it's like normally it looks like a little ice cream, like an upside down ice cream, and then when it Gigantamaxes, it just gets on top of this huge wedding cake, and it
looks like a wedding cake. Yeah.
Interesting.
And it, exactly. And then my boy Dreadnought, the little like shell boy, he then turns into what looks like Bowser when he gets Gigantamax. So that was pretty awesome. And I do like, it's funny because like, I mean, everyone always has their favorite systems and stuff, but like some people are not too sort of taken with this. But I think what I like about it so much is because a lot of the gyms now take place in these huge stadiums, right? And then you have these massive, gigantic Pokemon in the background. It kind of reminds me of like a tournament arc in like a shonen anime. You're just like, they'll suddenly be like, but wait, I'm not dead yet. Like, I've got my final move. And then suddenly the Pokemon goes, and you're like, this is my final move. And then suddenly you just destroy everyone. So I love that aspect of it. I just love like the over the top stuff. So that was really cool. That's it'd be interesting to see just how many of those you get. And they make it sound like it's quite rare as well, because apparently in order to get those, you have to do the max raid battles, and there's a chance of getting a Gigantamax. So I don't know whether we're talking like shiny level rares or whether we're just talking like moderate rare. But that's interesting.
Yeah, it's gonna be really cool to see how many you can Gigantamax.
Yeah,
it's gonna be really interesting because we saw 3 in the trailer.
Yes.
So yeah, I have no idea how many they would put that on, but it's really cool because you get to see them evolve almost again, right in the middle of battle. And the cake one, I want the cake Pokemon. She's adorable. She turns to a giant cake.
It looks amazing. But they've also done something else in the trailer. So they show us a few like gym leaders, and this one's quite interesting because I'm like 99% sure this is, I think this is the first for the Pokemon series. So obviously there's always like 2 versions of Pokemon initially at launch, right? And then there'll typically be like a Pokemon you can get in like one version that you can't get the other one. But outside of that, a lot of the core game is largely speaking the same. You know, there might be a few discrepancies here and there, whatever. But this time they said that they've got an actual version exclusive gym leader. So if you buy a sword, you have the fighting gym. Meanwhile, if you buy Shield, you have the ghost gym, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting. That's usually when I'm looking at which Pokemon I'd want to buy, I kind of just go which name I think is cooler, because for the most part, you're not really missing out on too much if you get one or the other. But having specific gyms for each version is that like really makes you think about, okay, which one am I actually going?
Are the gyms, like, how different would the gyms be?
I mean, it's mainly going to be like the type that you fight. So my understanding is that most of the gyms will be the same, but it basically means that you go to the fighting one, and it just means that ultimately the gym trainer you're going against is going to have like a whole suite of fighting Pokemon versus the ghost one. So like otherwise, I think the gyms would largely speaking, you know, it would just be kind of typical gym function. So in one aspect, it's a kind of a throwaway change. It's not hugely game changing. I don't feel like it's going to massively impact the narrative. Right. I mean, there's like a little bit of story around gyms and stuff, but it's just it's kind of an interesting choice because, you know, you think to yourself, all right, it makes sense to have, say, like a version exclusive Pokemon, because obviously Pokemon's about trading. It kind of, you know, promotes that. You're like, oh, you know what? You picked up like blue version. I picked up red. Like, you know, can you send me this Pokemon? Like, all right, cool. But it's not like you can do that with a gym. You can't be like, hey, can I hop in your world and like fight your gym leader? I mean, unless there's a system they haven't told us about, in which case that would be really cool.
That would be really
But yeah, so I'm not entirely sure what I think of that, because up until now I was super sold on getting Shield, just because I'm like super hyped for like Shield Hero right now. So I was like, I'm just gonna do that. But then having found out that the fighting type gym is in Sword, which is my favorite type of Pokemon, I'm like, now I'm really stuck on where I should be going.
See, I really like Ghosts and Psychic Pokemon. So, and then Alistair looks just creepy and
true.
Cool. So I was like, all right, Shield, here we go. Now Fumi Pokemon.
Yeah.
So are Pokemon fans okay with this? This like
are
2
you judging
versions?
by Florida in chat? Is that what's going on?
No. No. Actually, Florida's not talking about that. Florida's talking about the Gigamax stuff, which I could care less about. But like when I see the 2 versions, the 2 versions of games, I'm like, it's like selling Destiny with like one version gets you the Hunter, the other version gets you the Titan. And like you have to own one or the other or both of them to get like those in there. You know what I mean? Like
yeah. I mean, I feel like for the longest time, I feel like up until this point, it's never really been like an issue, because I mean, like, diehard Pokemon fans invariably get both anyway, and then somewhere down the line they'll release a 3rd version, which is like the amalgamation of both with some new legendary, and then they play through that again. And sometimes they'll have like, you know, slightly different story aspects. I mean, like you think about like Ruby and Sapphire, they had like different core enemy teams and stuff. So sometimes there's, you know, but I mean, a lot of the time, I don't think people would have minded too much, because the differences are largely speaking negligible, right? And then if it's just a Pokemon, you just trade it. So so I haven't really had a chance, because it's only just been like the trailer's only kind of just dropped. I haven't really seen like fan reception too much to the gym thing, but that's definitely one that like for the first time stood out, because, you know, it's like I saw that, I was like, I mean, it's interesting, because I mean, on one side it makes more sense because maybe they're like actually trying to make better reasons to have to pick a side, right?
Yeah.
Because then you can like you choose one, and then you're like, well, all right, so this has actually got more stuff that's different. You know, they're not just like a copy paste version with a different name. But then on the other aspect, it makes kind of the experience odd. So maybe it's just a way to incentivize purchasing both, since they are selling a double pack.
Yeah, they're selling a 2-pack.
That's why I'm always like, wow, Pokemon's been doing this for years, and then people get like really riled up over certain things being added to games that are additional charges and all that for something that's not in the game, or you have to have this other part. Yeah. So
well, like Eric said, it made sense back in the day, because if you got red and your friend got blue, you could trade the Pokemon. Like it's cool mechanic in that way. You know, it forces you to like actually talk to other people. It's
that is cool for sure.
Uncomfortable sometimes.
I mean, I think with the having just different gym leaders or whatever, I don't think you're really missing out on too much besides just fighting that gym leader. It's not like they're going to give you something super crazy that you're going to miss out on. So it's just, I guess it's just which one you would prefer to go against, right? Which one you prefer to experience.
Yeah.
I don't think it's too bad.
Okay.
No,
yeah. I mean, I'm not a Pokemon person. Like I played the
really.
I played the most recent for a little bit, and I was like, yeah, you know. I mean, I like the collection type of stuff. I think that's cool. I do like the concept of evolving things, but mostly I thought it was super silly. But I didn't grow up with it.
I think I played more Pokemon Go than any other Pokemon game.
Pokemon Go was fun initially. Yeah,
that was cool. Good.
Yeah. So
Pokemon Go was great.
I don't know. Gigantamaxing stuff does sound cool. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that would be something to super shame people over, Tefty. If you get one of those,
just check out
my
G moves.
As rare as they're saying?
It's not about the size of the Pokemon; it's about how you use it.
Right. What's the saying?
But then you get
no, go for it. No, I was gonna make it sound.
So you get teams of people. Teams of people that are gonna pick like the most ridiculous Pokemon just to Gigantamax them.
Right.
It's gonna be funny.
Yeah, I mean that sounds appealing.
Like
I would totally do that. In fact, that would be I'd first discover which one is going to trigger people the most in chat over that gets Gigantamax, and then that would be my exclusive goal throughout the playthrough.
A team full of 6 of them. It's like, yep, that's it. Yeah. That's the only thing I want to do.
Yep.
Exactly. Sounds great.
Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, it's interesting to sort of see like new takes on it, because there's always there's always some kind of core pillar new feature in like Pokemon games before. They had like Mega Evolutions before, so it's always interesting to see what their new take is. So I mean, and also maybe that's partly why they've limited the kind of the roster, which I know is the one thing that fans are definitely not happy about. But maybe that's why they've limited the roster, because they've put in these new systems and they don't necessarily want to do that for the entire Pokemon. So who knows?
Yeah. How big's the roster?
I don't actually know at the moment, but basically the one big controversy at the moment is that they haven't, like, typically Pokemon games, when you go through, right, whether it be from the start or whether it be when you get to the end, they have like the national decks. So then if you play previous Pokemon games, you can then bring them through. And obviously if you've been playing since the start, some people have been holding on to their collections and getting like every single Pokemon. Now, obviously, there is a massive undertaking with that. I actually watched a really interesting video the other day on like an analysis of like Pokemon animations and like the reasons that they do battles the way they do, because obviously when you factor in sprites and the different angles and stuff, like to every single time to add like a new 100 Pokemon is an insane workload. So some of the stuff they've done to allow them to kind of like make incremental changes is actually quite clever. But when you try to make a big step, this one is quite drastically different to the previous one. So when you try to make that big step to try and do that for the sheer volume of Pokemon, I can understand from a business or like a game development side why they would have those limitations. But yeah, that's definitely the big fuss. I mean, we kind of saw that. I guess that's reflected.
Bingo.
Bingo.
Right on time.
Like, yeah.
It was a little freeze. You're good now. You're good now.
You're back.
Oh, okay, cool. Fair. I was like, what's going on? But yeah, that might explain kind of obviously why the trailer's got like some dislikes right now as well, because people are just getting super angry about it. But I'm just like, maybe they can add it in later.
Sure.
But it's a new game. I'm excited for it. There's new Pokemon to catch, because it's one of those weird things. I mean, like it's kind of like we had discussion in Destiny and other games before, right? Where people hang on to stuff, and I appreciate you build a collection, but then when you get to a new game, everyone's always so kind of attached to stuff they got from before.
Yeah.
But it's like I get building a collection. If you spent thousands of hours getting every single Pokemon, I completely get that. But I'm also like, every time there's a new Pokemon, I'm actually always invariably more excited about what are the new Pokemon, because I'm like, I've already caught Pikachu like umpteen times.
Yeah.
So I don't need to catch him again.
So yeah.
Wait, Pikachu's not in the new one?
I think Pikachu is.
Okay.
Yeah.
But disaster averted.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously, I would love it if there was the national dex. But I'm just like, either way, I'm excited for the game, and I'm not going to let that like one big thing that they've taken out going to like impact my overall enjoyment. Basically,
it looks like it's going to be really enjoyable. It looks like a good Pokemon game. So
nice.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Cool.
Yeah,
I'm always open for stuff like that, but I do have like my initial impressions of Pokemon where I'm like, but I like the whole concept of collecting stuff and that, trying to find a shiny and all that. I do like that.
Maybe there's also like there could also be like clever ways they could, maybe they haven't revealed it. There could be ways to like phase things in gradually. I mean, like imagine if they did like a Street Fighter style season, and then like instead of just dropping the Pokemon game and be like it's done, like a few months later they're like, hey, we're dropping in like the Kanto season, and by the way, this is part of the Dex expanding. That could be something they could do, and there could be different things.
Yeah, I feel like the Pokemon franchise is perfect for seasonal content. With how many?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh yeah,
it just makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Anything else on the docket?
When is that game coming out?
That is.
If you say September, I'm going to be mad.
I thought it was November.
September.
Was it November for that?
It is November the 15th.
Boom.
Whew.
Okay.
Lucky.
Sensed it.
Nice.
They usually come out in
Christmas
November,
game.
right?
Well,
yeah, that's not bad at all. I can handle that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
A little
Surely
jelly.
by that time, all the other games are just like, you would have completed Destiny by then, right? Would have completed Borderlands.
Well, what you do is you play some Pokemon and then you go kill some demons in Doom Eternal. Just keep back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
There we go.
When's Doom Eternal coming
Also
out?
November. Like the 17th or something like that, or 20th.
Alongside Death Stranding, isn't it?
Yeah.
Death Stranding. I forgot that's coming out this year.
Yeah.
We've been waiting for that game for so long. And it's pretty crazy to think that we have an actual release date. It's actually coming out this year. It's not that far away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you guys get a chance to watch Stranger Things season 3?
Yes.
I've only seen episode 1. I'm sorry.
No spoilers.
It's so good.
It's
No
the beginning of an
spoilers.
anime season, Tefty.
Ah, so you're stocked up. No can do, right?
We're full.
You're full up. Got it. That makes sense. I
I didn't
through.
think it was possible for them to juice up the nostalgia in like the 80s.
Woo, big time, right?
Like they killed it. They killed it, man.
Yeah, like
There were all sorts of references to like the 80s in this season, and they were just so deep and so like the mall, like
I think the mall especially, like all the stores are at the 80s logos and stores that were in the 80s and all that.
The outfits, because now the kids are getting a little older, so they're like starting to dress themselves, so they look even more ridiculous than they did before. Like the haircuts, the summer jobs that people have are just hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Yeah, it's
great. It's so hard to talk about this without talking spoilers, but good lord. Like there's like Terminator references in there, there's Star Wars references in there, Back to the Future.
Yep.
Like it just list goes on, and it's just so visually fun to watch. And then the music is, it's one of a kind. Like it's absolutely great. Like it just feels like you're watching something straight out of the 80s.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I watched we watched the whole season in a couple days. And I think they did a great blend between taking what they already had with Stranger Things and like the mystery, but also the comedy and all that, and wove it into this new feel that's around 4th of July. So it's not Halloween anymore. It's like 4th of July type of feel. And they just, they killed it with the whole 80s nostalgia. Like the some things were on the head about like it being stupid and comedic, but it was great that it was on the head because there was enough tension that they brought in with like the scare factor of it and like the feeling of looming doom from other countries and evil and all that stuff like that. The comedy side really balanced it well, I thought, even though some of it was super on the head. And I really enjoyed it. Fully enjoyed it.
So in terms of like the storytelling and overall of the season, did you guys really like the pace of it?
I think it's the best season yet as far as the story goes.
Really well done.
Really?
I really
wow.
did. Yeah. But, we can't. I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but I thought it was phenomenal.
Yes, it was great.
Well,
Enjoyable.
they progressed
Very
it.
strong.
Like the kids aren't staying as kids. And again, no spoilers, but obviously the kids are going to grow up. That's assumed. Right. They're not going to be in a stasis chamber of being a kid for the rest of their life. Like they grow up and they show some of those growing pains and like the relationships develop like that. It's really cool to see how they develop that further in that scene of Stranger Things where Hawkins, a unassuming Midwest town, is suddenly the center of some crazy stuff once again, which is cool.
The tension of it, because from previous seasons, any people die in the show, right? So there is actually tension and there is like the horror element, and they blend it with the comedy element so well that like you feel like anything could happen at any time.
Mhm.
And that's part of the joy of watching it. So many TV shows, like I can hardly watch without like looking at my phone or looking at my iPad. But with Stranger Things, I was just transfixed for the entire season. I didn't want to take my eyes off of it.
Oh yeah,
I mean, Briar's addicted.
No,
I want just a
Addicted to
Stranger
his phone.
Things screensaver on my PC at all times.
now every time an episode finished, you're like, oh, could we watch another one? It's
Oh yeah, they do cliffhanger.
You look at the
endings
time,
really
you're
well,
like,
every
too.
single time.
2 a.m. What do you think? What are you thinking?
Fit another one in.
Maybe do one more.
Yeah, it's really good. If you're a fan of the show, I highly recommend it. If you're not a fan of the show, it is more of Stranger Things, like doubled down. So if you don't like 80s nostalgia, synthy music, comedy from those kids, then you're not gonna like it because it is more of that stuff. So, but if you do like that stuff, go watch Stranger Things season 3.
Yeah, it's right up the street.
I do wonder how long this series will go for. Like, I'd be happy if they just kept making it forever because I love it so much. But eventually, that it'll get stale, and so I do wonder how long it'll go for.
Yeah, I won't.
They have confirmed they are making a season 4, though.
There you go.
Oh.
Yes.
And they have to after the cliffhanger ending of season 3.
Well, I honestly felt like they ended it in a way that could have been the end. With, obviously there's again, no spoilers. There's one thing that happens, but at the end, it is technically like a wrap up of that moment.
Yeah.
So you could see it being done.
Until you watch the post-credit sequence of the last episode, then obviously we're in for
more stuff is happening. Yeah, because it's a really cool world that they've built. So yeah, it's great. Really enjoyed it.
Nice.
Is that the episode for today?
I think it is.
Anything else? No.
There was something that happened when I went to see Spider-Man.
Oh, what happened?
So I went into the theater. I noticed it was very dark, very strange. I wasn't early, so weird. But I heard like the trailers of movies playing, but there was
from
nothing
like other
on
theaters.
The screen. No, in our theater, but there was nothing on the screen. So we're walking to our seats. There's no light from the screen at all. So I have no idea where I am. And then we get to the part where they're supposed to play the movie, and obviously they can't because it's broken. So we're just sitting there in
the projector
silence.
broke?
Everything's broken. So it's all broken, and we're just sitting there like, okay, it's dark. There's now no sound. And then it comes up with Windows has broken whatever, on screen in the theater.
I saw this tweet. Okay, yes.
That is the tweet of the computer breaking. So they had to restore the computer back so they could start playing it. Then they started playing trailers again, probably to make sure it's working.
Naturally, yeah.
Mind you, we were about 15 minutes after it should have started by now.
Oh,
so
dear.
they start playing it, and the trailers, it's like, is it gonna work? Is it not gonna work? Because it kept stopping a little bit, and in between each trailer there was a really long pause. So we're like, is it breaking again? So it took probably about 20 minutes to get it back up and running. But luckily, when Spider-Man did start, it was smooth sailing.
Nice. And this is once again a reason why you don't update your operating system to the latest one.
That's right.
Yep.
Just let it bake. Don't
Windows
update.
Yep, don't touch it.
Just let it bake.
Do not
The best reason to get Windows Pro is that you can tell it not to update automatically.
That's what you need. Otherwise, you end up with sound and no video. Then one moment we had video and no sound. But eventually, we managed to get both.
My goodness.
I used to be on a movie review podcast. It was a long ass time ago. And we had to go to a movie theater every week to go see like whatever was new, right?
Right.
And I went through a string, I think, of 5 weeks in a row where every time I went to the theater, the movie broke in some awful way.
No way.
One time, it was like none of the bass in the theater was working at all. It was like only tweeters were working. Nothing mid-range or bass was working.
Weird.
So it was like everything was just awful, like super squeaky and like, it's just like I couldn't wait to get out of that theater. But I had to watch it because I had to talk about the movie on the podcast. And I've had multiple times where like film has broke. You don't see film too often anymore, and for good reason, because film used to break, or the film strip itself would get worn out, and the image quality would get worse over time as the movie was in the theaters. But man, all sorts of weird things. And movie theaters have gotten so much nicer since then too. It's like now you go there and you can like sit in Lazy Boys.
Mhm.
Those type of theaters are the best, where you can go in, you
Yeah.
have a chair you can lay down in, you can order food before the movie. So when the trailers are on, normally we get the food and you can get alcohol if it's a 21 and over movie theater thing. So you can sit there, you can order a really awesome food. The food they make is actually really, really good.
Yeah.
Get some drinks and then you're ready to party for the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are good.
Nice.
Really good.
I like those. I don't like eating though when I'm watching a movie because
I don't like eating watching.
Not
a
even
movie.
popcorn?
I get it before the trailer when the trailers are
So
on.
popcorn's okay because you can have your eyes on the screen and then eating at the same time. I don't like to have to look down to like eat a scoop of ice cream, you know? Like it drives me crazy.
Yeah.
And when you have a beer,
Yeah, I don't want to be like spreading mustard on my pretzel or something.
Oh god. That's worse. That's awful, you know? Like
my wife got a pretzel. It was the size of a toilet seat a couple of weeks ago.
Whoa.
Jesus.
It was huge.
Yes, the cinema beard eating is always a challenge. You come out, you're like, oh, why is there popcorn in my beard? I swear I didn't make my mouth. Okay.
yeah, exactly.
Definitely things that get stuck in beard more frequently.
Yep.
Oh dear.
All right. Well, I think that's the show, right?
I think that's it. Yeah.
I think so.
Quest complete.
SideQuest
Side
complete.
There it
quest
is.
complete.
SideQuest complete.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for watching, guys. Really appreciate it. Appreciate all the support all around on the socials and the Patreon and all that. If you want to talk to me, you can talk to me at Teft on Twitter and catch my streams, twitch.tv/TeftyTeft. Usually start up around 6 p.m. Pacific time, give or take a half hour.
Is it me?
Yep.
I
Sure.
forget the order. I feel like the order's different on every
Yeah, we
podcast.
change every week. Why not?
I am Miss 5000 Watts. You can find me on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. Just look for Miss 5000 Watts. Today, you will find me farming the menagerie all day.
Last
Until
chance.
all of my
Dying.
runes are gone.
They're taking it away.
They're taking away the menagerie.
out of the
It's
game.
all over.
Fair. You can find me over on Twitter and YouTube /Arix or Arix Gaming, covering, don't know what it'll be this week. There's like a bunch of random games, just like tons of different videos this week. I'm trying to sort of prep for being away the week after. So yeah, expect random content.
I'm Briar Rabbit. You can find me packing the kids into the car to go see the new Spider-Man movie.
Nice.
Go see Spider-Man before next week, then we can talk about
Then
it
we
with
can
no spoilers.
spoil it.
Just-
I'm down.
We can be
I'll see it. I'll definitely do so.
You know, when
If they're
the thing happened
17
with
and
the
graduated high school, can I still call them kids?
Sure.
thing- yes. Oh, they're still a
My
kid,
adults.
for sure.
They're always
My-
your kids.
You just
my
have to
young
think
men.
if a 40-year-old shows interest in them romantically, they're still a kid. Briar's upset about that.
Suspect. You're on my suspect list now.
I'm not 40 yet. Look.
All right. Thank you very much for watching, guys. We will see you next week for another episode. Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.